So the Rambam's shita was that if you have a tarubas, even if it's a gazayas b'chlei achilas pras, it's only allowed, but there's no karas. Everybody else argued. Now he says, "V'hinei im ein bo gazayas b'chlei achilas pras." So it's more spread out. Mavur behokos machalas yisuras sham delok in makas smartus. So you give him makas smartus for this. That's what you give by a draban. But he says he's not so sure of the eino mavur the hurak is the rabban. He doesn't say clearly it's this the rabban, and that's where you get makas smartus. The efshir the hu aser, but maybe it's going to be aser because that would be called chatzi shir, makas chatzi shir. Because let's say there's a kazayas. Let's say achilas pras is 5 minutes, and you want in 5 minutes you want to end up getting kazayas, but in 10 minutes you end up getting kazayas. So if you only eat it, if you eat it in 5 minutes, you'd only get half a kazayas. But l'chora half a kazayas is chatzi shir also. So he says it could be that it's aser as a chatzi shir. But then he's going to say could be it's not, and the malchus is the rabbanon because it can't be malchus the raisa chatzi shir. Wait, by chatzi shir you get malchus rabbanon? Yeah, that could be. What are you saying?
Is that normal in chatzi shir cases?
Well, if chatzi shir is also min Torah, it could be what he holds you would get malchus rabbanon. Very likely. It's very possible. I don't know enough about it.
Because the question is that it would have to be the Rabbanan Regaizer Makas Mardas on the Chatzi Shir, wouldn't it? I mean, or is it just...
No. There's cases where things are Asam in a Raisa without Malkus, and you still get Makas Mardas. I can't think of offhand, but there are definitely cases that where things are Asam in a Torah, but there's no Malkus.
Right.
And the Rabbanan gave Malkus.
Would that be but the Rabbanan gave Malkus, would that be a just... But still need a Gzera from the Rabbanan that you get Malkus for it?
Why?
Or just say they just gave Malkus like that?
So you're doing a Avera, it's an Avera race, and we give Malkus for it. Why do you need a new Gzera? I mean, on the Isra or the Gzera to give Malkus?
No, a Gzera to Malkus.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Chain Khan, he says, the Hilchos Chametz Matzah Kasav the Aser V'Lokin Malkus Mardis. In other words, by all Machalos Asaras, he said, if you don't have a Gazad Yeshar, he says you get Malkus Mardis, and he says the same thing by Chametz Matzah. The Efshir Lomar, and it's possible to say that it's Aser min Torah as Chatzi Shir, because the Ram Paskin is like Rabbi Hochman Chatzi Shir is Aser min Torah. The Efshir Lomar the ben Torah Aser. Af or Gav the Kasav Sham Hilchos Machalos Asuras Halacha Beis the Tam Levad ain't in the Rak the Rabbanon. He says no sing Tam is only the Rabbanon, but Efshir that's Dafka Hatam. He says that's only where you have Tam. The Einu Ben Klal, but you don't have the N of the Isser. But if you have a Be'en, except you don't have a Kazayas at Express, you have a Kazayas spread over 2 prasos, let's say. Afshu Yosim with the Achilas Pras, even though it's in a Tarubas of more than Achilas Pras, I'll call upon him Isser Tarika. You could say that still there's a Mamashas there, so there's Chatzi Shir. Ika Kabal Chatzi Shir, the Einu Batal. So there is an Avera Chatzi Shir, and it's not Batal. So therefore, he's clearing when the Rambam says that these cases of not a kazayas, if it's more than a kazayas, but if it's less than a kazayas with Echilas Pras, means there's kazayas in wartime. So he says he doesn't know if the Rambam holds as an Isra Chatzi Shir or not. And the fact that he says it's Makas Mardis is no proof that the son is Isra Drabban. He says, so that's as far as Machalos Yisuras and Chametz. He just says there's Loki Makas Mardis.
So he's questioning whether it's actually Isser Chatzi Shir
in such a case, and in Terubas.
Is he considering the fact that given the amount of the mixture, right, you can't really hit the shear?
Could be. I think his point is that could be the Chatzi Shir is batal. If you don't have that shear of Kazayas V'Leis Pras, could be anything less is batal, and therefore you're not over the Isra of Chatzi Shir. That's one possibility. The other possibility, I'm not sure we have to look right there, but the other possibility, there are shittas that hold beferish that Chatzi Shir is only a svara if you eat the Chatzi Shir straight, because it's like achshave. Even though there's no shir, you won't get malchus deraisa, but you're being machshav by eating. But they hold if it's you eat Chatzi Shir with a teruvas, then it's not like Aksha, basically. It's not even an Isser of Chatzi Shir. So he's just saying, he's not discussing what the study marred that it's not Chatzi Shir. He says, could be the Rambam holds it is Chatzi Shir, and except there's no Makas Derais, it's only Makas Rabbanan. But it could be the Rambam holds it's not Chatzi Shir. And why not? I just told you two stories. Maybe there's other stories.
Right.
He says, the Perek Hey bin Aziras halachas ayin kosa beferish the pachs v'kdei achilas pras after ika tam uma mashos. Right? He says beferish bin Aziras ain u'elam adivrei sofim, which seems to be it's a the Rabbanan. It's not an Isser. It's a Raisa. I didn't look up Basagas, but I guess he tainas it.
That gets into the language of Divrei Sofrim. The Rambam's language of Divrei Sofrim.
In Cain, Kan behilchos chametz u'matzah behilchos machalos isuras nami tzarich lomer Cain. So he says there's no reason to make a difference between machalos isuras and chametz from the case of Nasir. So Pashup Shad and the Ram is the Einu Usr element Divrei Sofrim, that the whole Isser is only the Rabbanan Dika Isser. To call Shu Pats B'nechevitz Pras, Bata. So he says the story. Because why is it only the Rabbanan, and why isn't it Chatzi Shir? Because he holds in that ratio, if it's not Chatzi Shir but the Echevitz Pras, the amount of the Isser becomes Bata. That was one of the stories I told you is possible. The Tam Kikar ain't the Rabbanan, so it's Bata, even though there's still Tam, but Ram Shita's Tam Kikar is only a Rabbanan. So Tam Mashas is the same as Tam B'Yalman, it's only the Rabbanan. He says, calls that. He says, that's going to be true then. If it's a bigger spread, then it's not going to be Chatzi Shir because it's Batal. But what would be the din? Let's say you have a Taruvas Chametz where there is a Kazayas B'Echlis Pras, but you don't eat the whole 5 minutes worth. You only ate 2 minutes worth. So in that case, you can't say there's no Isser Chatzi Shir because it's Batal. Because here there was a Kazayas B'Chlei Achilas Pras. And a Kazayas B'Chlei Achilas Pras, everybody agrees is not Batal. Except you didn't eat the whole Kazayas, you only ate a half a Kazayas because you only ate, let's say, 2 minutes worth. The Eshalomer. So in that case, according to what he said before, that case, you would be doing an Isser Reisa, who do Asr Min Torah. Kiva the Machal Kol Pras, because in that case, if you would have eaten, you can't say it's Batal, because if you would have ate 5 minutes worth, right, you would have Chayev. So you see, it's not Batal. Im Kainon and Batal. So if you only ate 2 minutes worth, it wasn't Batal. Al Kain Achal Chatzi Shir. So this case, it's As Chatzi Shir would be Asr Min Torah.
It's really a different Chatzi Shir. The previous case has to be Chatzi Shir of Chametz. It can't be Chatzi Shir of a Taruvus because it's not a Taruvus. It's by definition a Taruvus because it's
Which case?
The previous case we were talking about Chatzi Shir when it's spread out more.
So it's the Taruvus, right?
Yeah, but it's not a Chatzi Shir of the Taruvus. It has to be Chatzi Shir of the Chametz.
Yeah, so when you ate,
you Chatzi Shir of Chametz.
The amount of Chametz you ate was here also. The amount you ate over here also was a Chatzi Shir of Chametz. It was less than a Kazayas.
No, but it's a Chatzi Shir of the Taruvus Chametz. In other words, over here, the issue you're talking about is Taruvas Chametz.
No.
And the Shir...
No, he's talking about the issue of Chametz. He's saying in the first case, you're not over the Chatzi Shir of Chametz because the Chametz was Batal.
Right.
But in this case, the Chametz wasn't Batal.
Yeah, but I...
And therefore, you're over Chametz. It's Chatzi Shir of Chametz. Because it wasn't Batal. In the first case, the Chametz became...
It's not Chatzi Shir of Taruvas Chametz?
No, you're over Chametz. Even without it didn't Taruvas, you're over Chametz because the Chametz didn't become Batal.
I can't see any real nafkamina in this, but the fact is that...
I hear, but you don't have to comment to Chatzi Shir. He said the chametz never became batal, so you were eating a little bit of chametz.
It's a Chatzi Shir of chametz.
Right. Saying in the first case, it's not a Chatzi Shir of chametz because it became batal.
Right.
And it's only considered like tam, and tam is the Rabbanan. But in this case, he said the Chatzi Shir never became batal.
But the Tam, that's interesting. So Tam Kikar. So if this time
Tam Kikar is the only Rabbanan going around.
Even with Mamashas.
Yeah. So even though there's Mamashas, it becomes Batal Min Torah, and there's Tam, which is also it has a din like Tam, and it's also Min Rabbanan.
So it's not an issue of being Batal B'Ro. it's batal pursuant to the Taruvas because the Taruvas gives it Hashivas.
Yeah.
Because of that. So what it's saying is it's in the bittul is that it's almost like an Akshavei consequence. Since the Torah gave that chametz Hashivas to make it part of another mitzvah of Taruvas chametz, it's not batal.
Well, since you see there's an issur of Taruvas, so you see that the chametz doesn't become batal.
But it's more than that. So it's a different. Otherwise, we batal b'rov.
Yeah.
When he says tam is not kikr, even if you can taste the chametz, or
even if it's tam chametz, tam is not kikr. You have to have mamashas.
Yeah, but I'm saying if there's mamashas chametz and you can taste the mamashas chametz.
Yeah, but he's saying here the mamashas is batal, so it's not like considered mamashas chametz.
Even if you can taste the chametz.
But when you can't say that it's batal when it's the kazayas b'te'echilas pras, because there you see that you're over an issur and it's not. The chametz didn't become batal, so it did become batal, so it's chatzi shiur and so you're eating matzias of chametz, which is chatzi shiur.
Right. It's just that the extension of tam ki'ikr is interesting because what you're saying is even the mamashas is there, and the tam is because of the mamashas, but it's still batal. Because
the mamashas is considered chametz.
Because so it's more than just like I would think that tam ki'ikr is drabanan because the mamashas is not there. So saying even the mamashas is there.
Tam is fantastic.
Even with the mamashas.
Because the mamashas is batal.
So with the rov. With the rov I thought it's only...
It's not over here, it's batal because there's more than kazayas b'te'echilas pras. So even though kazayas b'te'echilas pras isn't batal, but if it's kazayas spread over more, it'll be batal. According to what he's going now, and therefore...
But in general, if you have the concept of bittul b'rov, I thought bittul b'rov only applies if the tam's not there, so that's only a drabanan. But really, the Raisa...
Yeah, but he's not learning bittul, he's not talking about bittul b'rov over here, he's talking about... Here you don't say bittul b'rov because you see, because last one it was...
Yeah, but it's more machmer. The truth of the matter is that's being more machmer.
Right.
So I'm saying, theoretically, if you didn't have the yisur of Taruv's chametz, you'd say bittul b'rov.
Right.
And bittul b'rov... That's what I'm wondering was bittul b'rov would apply to mamashas
with tam,
with tam.
Because he says the mamash is batal and there's no, all you're left with is a tam.
The mamashas is batal and all you have to is the tam, and the tam is not a sujaraisa. So even that to me is very.
Because you're used to tam kikar being deraisa.
Well, I'm also used to tam kikar not being when there's mamashas. In other words.
Like in the pot or something like that.
Right, or something. But here, it's like all the issues with tam kikar. But the point is that there's mamashas there that has tam. There's then, and you can taste the mamashas. The mamashas. In other words, I guess what's hitting me is that bittul basically applies as a concept that it's not even noticeable. Right? You can't. If you see it, it's not batal and stuff like that. So over here, it's really extending it to saying that. The Raisa, even if it's noticeable because you can taste the tam, it's still batal. From this viewpoint.
Right.
And you're saying that's not the. There's machlokas. What he said beforehand, he ended up in the saying by saying the Rambam because of Medivrei Soferim, he says that Mashas is drabanan. But in
this case, it's not batal because you have a kazayas b'te'echilas pras.
Right.
So the chametz didn't become batal, so then it's going to be a regular case of chatzi shiur. And the Rambam holds chatzi shiur is also in the Torah.
I'm just wondering, according to the Rambam's use of the word Medivrei Sofer, right, which has an argument in the Rambam saying
sometimes it really means deraisa, except it comes to the Rambam.
But you have this other thing where he says
he's understanding Divrei Sofer means drabanan.
Right, but what I'm wondering is could you make a chiluk when the Rambam says before that tam is only drabanan, and here he says tam and mamashas is Medivrei Sofer. Could you give an argument in the Rambam to say that maybe tam without mamashas is drabanan, but tam with mamashas is this Medivrei Sofer, which is really a deraisa.
He's learning Divrei Sofer means drabanan.
Right, but is it possible to? I'm just saying.
See all the Rambams.
No, I understand. I'm just throwing out that language. I mean.
Okay.
Okay. It's just the idea of something that's actually noticeable being batal that to me that extension of tam being drabanan, to me is very powerful statement. Yeah. Okay, that's all. Okay.
I don't know what he says. That's the shala I told you, that some people hold the chatzi shear is not asr min Torah if it's ma'ur with something else.
Right.
But he's not going with that. That's a different story. U'psicha kolel supreme God in Hilchos Pesach Chelik Hasheni Perek Aleph Os Beis maybe b'shem Pri Chodesh, and now the Daito V'das HaRambam, that his opinion of the Rambam Shita is that after Ika Kazayas Sachilas Pras, that even if you have a Kazayas P'techlis Pras, im Ochal Chatzi Pras, so instead of eating the whole Kazayas P'techlis Pras, you ate only a Chatzi Pras, so you'd end up eating less than a Kazayas of Chametz, right? He holds Einu Asmer Torah. Even in this case, there's no Isser of Chatzi Shir. And even in this case, you can't say the Chametz became Batal, because there was a Kazayas P'techlis Pras, and still there's no Isser. Avol Sham, he holds, and I think there the reason is because he holds there's no Isser when it's Ma'urav. In other words, only din of Chatzi Shir is only when it's by itself. So, but so far he hasn't said why. He said the Pri Chodesh says there is no Isser even in that case, Min Torah.
And he's talking Chatzi Shir of the Chametz.
Yeah.
But what about Chatzi Shir of the Tairuvas? Why wouldn't it be Chatzi Shir of the Isser Tairuvas?
Well, because of the way I understand it, because he holds with Tairuvas, there's no Chatzi Shir. In other words, Chatzi Shir, when it's a Terubah, so the Kazayas B'chdei Achilas Pras, the Torah made a special Isser that even though you don't have Chametz bad, it's Ma'urav, there's still an Isser of the Chametz. But there's no such thing as a Chatzi Shir B'terubas.
Because you have to eat you still have to eat the Kazayas of Chametz, according to the Rambam.
Avol Sham Hevi, but in that Pri Chodesh that holds even in this case it's only the Rabbanan. Hevi Divrei Amrabach the Daf remain book as last Bechutz Pras Ein Asur Min Torah. Then it's not a Chatzi Shir Min Torah. Even the Ein book is last Bechutz Pras it's Batal because of the Skorah of Batal. Avol Im Yesh book is last Bechutz Pras Rak Ochel Chatzi Pras who was Min Torah could then Chatzi Shir, which was the Minchas Chinuch story. He brings it from Rabach. So the Torah that Pri Chodesh is learning, it's nothing to do with being Batal or not. It's doing that. There's no such thing as Chatzi Shir when it's Ma'urav. V'ayin od shehevi b'shem Rabach v'das ha-Rambam the Daf gabi Chametz bein mil Kazayas b'chlei achilos pras asur min Torah the Israbi tam keikul gabi Chametz. So that's a whole new shita. That even though the Rambam was normally tam keikul is the Rabbanan, I guess he's learning the etzem inyan of tam kashir b'chlei achilos pras is telling you the chiddush that tam is a batal because the Torah is not a robe. It's why is it a batal? Because tam is the raisa, so therefore it's not batal. And therefore he holds if you eat in the case of exactly achilos pras, if you would eat a chatzi, you would be over chatzi shir. But the Pri Chodesh himself was arguing on.
So he's saying that because of Taruvas Chametz, you see tam by Chametz is kikar?
I think that's what he's saying. What else would be the Rabach's possible? I know some shehevi b'shem Rabach the das Rambam daf gabi Chametz bein because I asked what they express asur min Torah. Right? Because why? What's the problem? Why don't we say it's batal? There's only tam and tam is Rabbanon. He's saying that for some reason there's a lean with that by Chametz. Israbi tam keikul gabi Chametz. What rebuy there is, I don't know. So you have to look it up. I don't know.
He's really extending it to saying that it's Kazayas b'tei achilas pras is what's asur, and he's saying that is because of tam. It's just because of tam, but not. But then he's extending it to.
Could be. I'm not so sure. That's the reason I only said that was because I thought that was the only pasuk, but maybe.
No, it's just a.
Maybe I'm thinking you have to look up the Rambam because I know there's a famous Rambam. The Rambam in Machalos Asura says that Chatzi Shir is asur min Torah. He passes like Rabbi Hochman.
Right.
And when it comes to Chametz, he says Chatzi Shir of Chametz is asur, and he brings a special pasuk of Kol Machmetz, a special pasuk by Chametz. So the Meforshim asked, why does he need a special pasuk by Chametz? He passes generally Chatzi Shir is asur min Torah. So I know like the Note of Yehuda answers that it's always usher when it's because it's chazi l'tz terufa. Here the Rambam is talking about chametz. It's usher even without being chazi l'tz terufa. For example, let's say it's the last second of Pesach and you eat a chatzi shir where it's not shaykh to be masar because Pesach is going to be over within the time. So he says there the Rambam has a special pasuk like chametz that the chatzi shir is usher even when it's not. That's why he needs a special pasuk to tell you even when it's not chazi l'tz terufa. Maybe he's referring. Maybe the Malbach understood that special pasuk. Is telling you that Chatzi Shir is us, or even by Teruvas because of Tam. I don't know. I don't know what the Marbach says, that there's a special readway of Tam. I'm just trying to figure. So first when I told you, I thought maybe he meant the actual pasuk of Kazayas B'Chleachlius press. And now I'm thinking maybe he means that pasuk. The Rambam means called Machmetzes, that it doesn't become Batal once by Chatzi Shir is Aser, which wouldn't be normal by other Yisurim. But I'm just guessing, and I would have to look up this Rabach, but it's not. We have a Rabach, so I just didn't do my homework.
Well, it's just a fascinating idea that of extending it from the Tairuvas to saying that
but I don't know that's what he's doing. So it's not good to. You have to see the Rabach and say.
Because he's getting from the other argument.
There might be other points too. I don't know. You have to. Mamash have to look up the Merabach and see how he says it. He says, Divrei Rabbi Mechaber Sosrim says that, but he says, if you want to understand what the Chinuch sheet is, he says, you find the stir in his words. The Tchila Kasa B'das Ramdan Dim Ein Metaruvas Kadei V'Chelos Pras Lo Yiba Malchus Ola Malchus Mardus. So there's no Malchus, there's Malchus Mardus. Lefi She'enu Aser Min HaTorah El Rabbanan. He said the Chinuch said clearly the reason is because it's only the Rabbanan. It's not the reason Malchus Mardus because he doesn't say even though it's a Chatzi Shir Aser Min HaTorah, but still you get Malchus Rabbanan. He said clearly in the Chinuch that there's only an Isser Rabbanan. Well, B'sofa Dibra Kasav Dim Eimbo Kazayas B'Chleachilus Pras Eimbo Chiyav Malchus Eladino Kedin Chatzi Shir Aser Min HaTorah V'Eim Malchus. Well, B'Zeh Yodu Shneim. He says all the Rishonim would agree with that. So one place he said there's only an Isser Rabbanan. And that's even when it was a Gazayas B'Chleachilus Pras, right? No, that was talking about Ein B'Taruz Gazayas Pras. He said it's only the Rabbanan. And here he says when it is Ein B'Chleachilus Pras, it's still an Isser Chatzi Shir. And he says, so as far as he says, there's no way out. There's a steer. Mevur B'Divrei Midvara the Isser Torah Yesh Kedin Chatzi Shir. V'Tzchila Kasav Dainu Ela the Rabbanan. He didn't mean the Reb Malchus is only Rabbanan because he said the way he quotes him, Einu Aser Min HaTorah El the Rabbanan. He was talking about the Isser. So he says there's a steer. So we have a terrace on the bottom.
It says Reha Girsa Ba'arach Bavel Chinuch.
And halachik Gim and Os Gimel says Lahawan Os Gimel. This is Os Beis. That's something else. Yeah. So
he's saying the Reha Girsa Ba'arach Bavel Chinuch.
So his Aravav and Chinuch is different girses.
Look, it says B'Ksas Kisei Yad Kares.
So he doesn't. He says they both agree there's no Kares. It's only Malchus. In other words, he's not going on the Isser. In other words, the way Minchas Chinuch had the girse, he said there's an Isser Chatzi. Everybody agrees there's a Chatzi Shir.
Right.
And now he's saying that there's a different girsa. Everybody agrees there's no Malchus Derabas, the Raisa or something. It could be there is an Isser Chatzi Shir. So according to that girsa, there's no steer in the if there's an Isser Chatzi Shir.
He says Eimbo Chiyav Kores. Right.
That was going on the case if you had a Kasas with the Echilas Pras. If you didn't, because some people hold in Kazab Echletz Pras, you have Karas. The Ram holds it's only allowed, but you have Karas. But if you don't have a Kazab Echletz Pras, everybody agrees there is no Karas in that case.
And that seems to fit into the language of the Chinuch. Is the Ein Bo Karas with Das Ram Zechon Brach, but Das Ram Banz Bo Yesh Bo Karas, but you main Bo Clear Chilas Pras, Ein Bo Chiyav Malchus. So he's saying that it's just.
He's just saying that if it's less than the Chilas,
Ein Bo Chiyav Karas, he's saying that it fits in much more to the language of the Chinuch. Right.
Then it wouldn't be a stira. There he's just saying they all agree there's no Malchus, but he doesn't say anything about there being Chatzi Shir Aser Min HaTorah.
He's saying that's just Mamshech L'Shiv just a Ramban. That's the Ramban's for the way it's prepared, and it seems to actually flow.
Fit in better with the language. Okay. So he's saying, sorry, V'nei Al Kol Panim, Im nomer b'pshitas the tarubas chametz b'kazayas b'express over belav. So, which is the Rambam sheet that there's no chorus, it's just a lav. One is a kazayas express. Near the field is like the derech mashal. In this Arab kazayas chametz b'shnei beitzim. Dahainu b'soch achilas press, which is a time of there's a kazayas chametz in tarubas of achilas press. For achal right rock base, so you only need half of that. So the most you could say you were over that there's chatzi shear, right? Im kain lo achol rak chatzi zayas chametz, because you only ate a kabeas mount, and there was only half a kazayas in that kabeas mount. So they only so far ate a chatzi shear of chametz, right? Then he says it was so chachilas pras, but within the next few minutes, achal kazayas chametz gomer. He took a chatzi zayas of plain, and not from that tarubas, but from a different piece. He ate a chatzi zayas of chametz. So he says, now would you be chayav karas? He says, he's vada, you're not going to be chayav karas because you never ate straight kazayas of straight chametz, because half of the kazayas was a kazayas with tarubas, with half a kazayas with tarubas. Right? So he says, vada, according to the Ram, you can't be chayav karas. The b'chatzi zayas arishan hayarak lav, because the first half of kazayas there was only a lav on it. You can't be matzaref the chametz which is a lav to the chametz which was which is karas. And the milah david zayin days, the yom perik yom kippurim that can be matzaref. There's different types of rules. Aval kol panim, but he said, but there's no reason you shouldn't get malchus. Even though one is, why not? Because the chomer, the hainu chatzi zayas gomer, mitzaref chatzi zayas shebetoch atruas lukos olav. You shouldn't tarubas chametz. He says, why shouldn't the chametz gomer be mitzaref to the half? In other words, his svara is, if you ate a half a gazayas of this tarubas, and then you would have eaten within that process another half a gazayas tarubas, it certainly would have been mitzaref. And you would get malchus, right? So he says, how could it be less that instead of eating another half a gazayas of tarubas, you ate a whole half a gazayas of straight chametz? He says, how could that be less? He says, so you certainly they should be starved. He says, just like if he would have continued eating the second bale of the taruvas, so yesh chatzi zayas chametz urv, which has another chatzi zayas, you would have malchus. So he ate a chatzi zayas of one bale of the taruvas, right? So he said, if he would have continued eating the other chatzi zayas of the taruvas, he would get malchus. So he didn't do that. Instead of he ate a straight chatzi zayas of chametz. He says, how could that be any less severe? Mikoshkein shach chatzi zayas chametz gomer. The chigara chametz gomer of chatz chametz ayidei teruas. Vadi linin karetz v'chatas as far as the shog. If you bring a chatas, it won't be mistarf. Ki chatz yishir ayidei teruas lo yachol istarf l'chametz gomer. Ki al teruas eino chayav karetz v'chatas. Havel lehepech like starf chomer lekal laver alav belav habikoshkein. He says if you would have eaten the other chatzi zayas but tarubas, it would have been starved. So koshkein, if you eat it straight, the other chatzi zayas, the straight chametz, why shouldn't it be starved? And
this is an oishin from Minidin?
What?
This is an oishin Minidin?
No, because it's more. It's you're eating another chatzi zayas of chametz. It's like you're having as much chametz as chatzi zayas with terubas. So you eat another straight chatzi.
But it's not terubas. Terubas only is a lav. Chametz is nisakuris, which includes malchus.
You're not learning out a new ownership, treating it like chametz gomer. You're treating it. You're saying that chametz is at least of it's not is at least the chametz of a terubas. To get the chametz of a terubas would give you malchus, and this is at least chametz of a terubas.
Well, that sounds like Rabbi Hochman would argue. Yeah?
I don't think it's like yesh b'cham l'sayman. I don't think that's like kal chomer.
You're seeing it's. I mean, the fact is, it fits in according to the Rambam, because the Rambam really holds the Yikarissa as chametz. It's chametz. It's not terubas chametz. Was like I'm thinking in the back of mind of whether according to the Ramban, if you had a chatzi shear of taruvas and then you had a chatzi shear of chametz, could you be mistaref there, or is that too like if you
two different types? I hear. Let's see what he says. Okay. He uses the word koshkein. In chatzi zayas hasheni chametz gomer vadi mitzdarf l'chayav al kol pani malchus. And b'milisham the Raman Paradam Machos Asurs Lachid Zayin. So he's bringing rise to his saying, not to say like you're saying, but I don't know what the rise are. Well, if you state you got Dvarim Berur.
It's interesting. I mean, it's
very logical what he's saying.
It's logical, but that's the whole thing of what Shemini did. It seems to be.
But you have to look up the Gemara and Mila that he's quoting in the Rambam. Let's see. Aim Nisarav, the aim b'taruvas kazayas b'deichus pras. So you had kazayas not b'deichus pras. Lasorim dahavi rak the rabbanon. In that case, is no chitzishir. Because minatorah batalo. So the achal, so then the part that you ate, if you ate the chatzizayas, it was batal. Him achal achal tzacham gomer v'imataruva shachal kodem yeit kazayas. They call makal may mistarv. There, they'll agree. So you won't even get malchus because the first part wasn't even chametz. It was batal. The chatzizayas rishon is batal, not a Torah. Work with rabbanon aser. Pshita lo nistar. Rak v'schoras harav ha'mechaber u'sharpos m'dafilu eimbo kazayas de'os pras im achal. It is considered chatzishir. You don't say this for that it was batal. In came it star for chatzishir zol chametz gomer shachal tov k'lei achilas pras kilon is batal chatzishir v'rak l'makos, but you'll only get malchus. L'karas l'chatos it can't be mitzaref. Ein mitzaref hakal l'chamer, ein mitzaref l'hachmer. Aval l'chamer l'kal is mitzaref l'kos alav. Kain near l'viyani start. You better scream it's barak l'pshita. So it says in Gimel. So l'halan knows Gimel he's kozer. So maybe he's kozer than tinus like you. So hear what she says for such a davar pashut. Right. That it's going to be mitzdaref. He says later on he's kozer. So I don't know his reason for being kozer. Maybe he's going to say like you. Ve'eni omed be'es be'inyan zeh. He says I'm not holding an inyan. No. He says the ayin decreases. The inyan chiluk the lav, a chiluk the karas, im shmei chiluk. The gabi achatus. If one was lava and one was the karas. If any omed case, he said I'm not holding an inyan, but tavin. They have to look up that and work it out. So maybe we'll have to see why he was choser later on. If that was your story, you want to look. Ayin os gimel. His choser was we're only under os space. What is os gimel's along? I see in the second paragraph, he made Mashak Asabel El, the Chatzizayas Terubas, the Chatzizayas Klamets Mistarpin, to Ace Shafti for EC, the Kiva the Haim Shnei Shemos. Right. That's what you were tying. That's
but I was saying that specifically according to the Ramban, for sure it's two Shemus, but according to the Rambam, it's perhaps not two Shemus because the Terubas is really the Chametz, because the uniqueness in the Terubas. Right, because you have to eat a whole thing.
But it's still a different law.
Yeah, right.
He's saying the fact that the Torah made it a different law, because it's called Sheikh Shemus, Shemus Starfin, Ayin Ran, Perikdam, Achos, Sers, Alach, Yedzayin. That, as long as it shakes two Shemus, it's not Mustarif. Oh, Nira Pasha, the history will al Tarubas Chametz. So he's just being choser. That's what the rest is going to be not no good. This. Right. So he's saying that could be, you'll still say two Shemus aren't Starfin. It's not timing outs, Einon Shemin. Then he's just saying there's a rule in Starfus that two Shemos aren't in Starf, even though it's not.
But that's what makes the Rambam's. But it's really interesting. According to Ramban, it's clearly two Shemos. But according to the Rambam, the fact that you have to have a kazayas, you have to have a. If it's kazayas b'chilas pras, the fact you have to do the whole chilas pras, it really creates not the fact that it's a simple different shame. I mean, the fact is,
whenever it's counted as separate in the separate mitzvahs, it's two different mitzvahs. It's considered two different shemas. Okay, so let's go back to bed. What time is it?
Yeah. 9:20.
Okay, so we have time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Osbeis. V'nei Rabbi Mechaber lo bir a masay maskil zaha lav. This new lav of Taruvas, not the lav of Chametz, but according to the Rambam, the lav of Taruvas, which is Kazayas, what time of the year of the Pesach does it start on? Im Gambia Dalat Ach Chatzos over Taruvas Chametz. Does it start just like the Isra of eating Chametz? According to the Rambam, it's a lav from Chatzos on. That's Machlokas reviewed in Reb Shimon of eating Chametz, and we pass like reviewed that eating Chametz is a lav. So what about the lav of Taruvas Chametz, which is a different lav? And so we see it's different shemos. Is that start after Chatzos also? Oh, after Dafka Pesach, or maybe this lav is only on Pesach. So how does the language of the Chinuch says? Shelo lecho b'kol davar sheish bo Chametz. He doesn't say when. Okay. So he says it's not from the Chinuch, but doesn't say clearly. V'Rambam the Psicha leHilchos Chametz Matzah b'minyan hamitzvos asher nichlu b'halachos ukazos al lashano. One of the lavim is shelo lechol chametz b'yom yudalad mechatzos u'mayla. There's a lav, but that's not covered. That's just a plain lav and chametz gomor. Days is another mitzvah in Tarek mitzvah hashbi soor b'yudalad. Gimel shelo, I don't know what the case of shelo is. I guess not the chametz gomor and Pesach. Dalet shelo lechol taruvas chametz kol shiva. So this, when it comes to taruvas chametz, he doesn't say Yudalit. He says not to eat taruvas kol shiva. In the class of Kodem is of Yudalit, but the other cases he mentioned even Yudalit, not to eat chametz. He said on Yudalit, but this case he says not to eat taruvas chametz on shiva. It's mashma b'kan class of kol shiva, and there the lav hazeh einu elu b'yantiv. This lav of taruvas only applies to yantiv, but below Yudalit. The same near, and he says that's logical to be that way. The Rabbi Yehuda, Darshin and Kroya al Lifnei Zmanu la'akras manu. He has psukim for Lifnei Zman and akras manu. We only paskin like Rabbi Yehuda Lifnei Zman. Vanan paskin kavasa Lifnei Zman machmas hakra de lo sochel, because of that puzzle sochel. Im came it tarufas comes. So there's a special on chametz gomor. There's a special pasuk for Lifnei Zmanu. Im came it tarufas comes to lek el achad kra. You don't have extra psukim for tarufas comes. You only have one pasuk for Pesach. Lukmin le chametz tov zmanu. So it's only one pasuk. We have to use it for tov zmanu for Pesach itself. The ain't no over el b'tov zmanu. The lifnei zmanu dino kashari surim. That doesn't apply. The chol shita kedisa, whatever you hold by other isurim. In other words, if the Rambam holds this is the newest or kasasa if it's pras, so it won't be only also on Pesach or not in Shar. But according to the Ramban, the Isser is not kasasa if it's that's the regular Isser of chametz gomer. That would apply, but the other whatever he holds as taruvas, it'll be Yasser, it won't be Yasser on Yudalit. The faint Katsatos of Satan that Beis Amid Aleph, the Asr of Yud Aleph of Chametz Gomer, the Gibel Kroy, because by Chametz Gomer is the three psukim, one for before Pesach, one for Pesach, which is Karis Pasuk, and one for after Pesach. Nuksha the Lek El Achad Kra, even if your Nuksha is the Raisa, Mother of Yudah, the Asr La'achar Asmanik, there's no Pasuk with that. Him came with Taruvas Gamkin, the Lek El Achad Kra, and Loka El Latocha Pesach, even according to Rev Yehuda. Abba Yudalin, Ainu over B'Lavzel, Haladin the din is B'chol Taruvas Isser, because it's chametz in the taruvas, so you don't have the special lav, and I guess this whole shala would be Dira Chatzi Shir of the chametz gomer or not. Matzasi b'slach psachim reish perik ela ovrin. Dibra mask elu kidvorenu, who says like we just said, the ainu over that the din of the special lav of chametz ardei taruvas, here ainu over ela b'toch zmanu. Because there is no pasuk, there's only one pasuk, and we use that pasuk for Pesach. The Hevi Divrei Tosa now, and he proves it from the Stosa that he just brought a raya that says the unit nukshas of the Raisa, but it's only the Raisa Toksplan, and that because you don't have a pasuk for your Dalit or after Pesach, even according to Rabbi Yehuda.
According to, if a Taruvas Chametz is not Asr during the 6 hours, whatever, the hours before Pesach, would the chametz be the chametz wouldn't be bottled there because the chametz, I mean the chametz.
He's saying the chametz certainly not bottled. That's what he's learning, because once the pasuk answered, even if it only answered 12 Pesach, you see the chametz isn't bottled, so it wouldn't be bottled before too, and it probably would be chatzi.
No, but you're saying that the chashivas that since they gave it, since it's an issue after Pesach, on Pesach, it still wouldn't be bottled during those.
Therefore, wouldn't be considered wouldn't be batal, and it would be chatzi shir of not of the taruvas, because there's no issur taruvas, but it would be chatzi shir of chametz gomer according to that svara.
Even though the issur doesn't begin until during that.
Right.
Because I was thinking in terms of bayur or bayu matzah, if you had taruvas chametz, and the chametz would become, if it wasn't asur, you'd say it become batal. So then even on the 8th hour. You take the whole Terubas Chametz and move out. First
you have to discuss is there by Rav by Matzah and you don't.
Right. No, but what I'm saying is, if you didn't do bittul by the 6th hour, right? I guess you're right. So because the rice you'd be able to bittul till because it's still yours, so you can still. Well, your Rav by Matzah doesn't apply on the 6th on the Erev.
that's a big problem because the Rishonim speak about it. If you can't do bittul because it's asur b'hanoah,
right.
First of all, there's a Tana Rabbi Yossi, I think, of Rabbi Yossi, like living holds chametz isn't asur b'hanoah, it's only asur b'achila. Right. So they ask, why can't you do bittul according to him, even after his man isur? Right. It's not the Nasiya says, because even according to him and according to everybody, there's a din of tashbisu, where the Torah requires you to get rid of it. So even though it's not asur b'hanoah, but you still have to destroy it. And it's not also means while you're destroying you could have hanoah, but you're not allowed to keep it around to have hanoah because you have to get rid of it. Right. So that's why they hold that even Rabbi Yossi would say you can't do a bittul, that it's considered not bershusa because you have to destroy it because of the din of tashbisu. So you can't do. So before the 6 hour, you don't have the tea of tashbisu yet. So that's why the bittul works. Yeah. But once the tashbih, it's a chiddush because pashut the Gemara means it's not b'shusa because it's asur b'hanoah. Right. That's why. No, because it's not only Rabbi Yossi, because even Rabbi Shimon, who argues with Rabbi Yehuda, he holds there is no law except on Pesach. Right. So he holds in the Torah, you can eat chametz till the night. So why can't you do bittul till the night? Certainly if you could eat it, certainly it's mutter b'hanoah. And he also holds you can't do bittul. Well, the Gemara always says you can't do bittul. The Gemara doesn't say only according to Rabbi Yehuda. A lot of Rishonim paskin like Rabbi Shimon. Ram splits it up. Chodesh man we pass like Rabbi Yehuda, and after man we pass like Rabbi Shimon. But a lot of Rishonim paskin like Rabbi Shimon. So the Gemara always says you can't do bittul. It's fair to say the Gemara only means according to Rabbi Yehuda you can't do bittul. So they say, because that's the only answer I know. Maybe that's the other answer. The only answer I remember is they say that you can't do bittul even if it's mutter b'hanoah and mutter b'achila because there's a chi of tashbisu. Just like they say you're not mekayim tashbisu by eating according to Rabbi Shimon. Because that's understood, tashbisu means to get rid of it in a way of not benefiting from it. Because there's one reason I think that says according to Rabbi Shimon, you eat it, you'll be mekayim tashbisu. But we don't pascha like that. We say even according to Rabbi Shimon, eating isn't a form of tashbisu. But they say, so why can't you do bittul? Because they say since you got to get rid of it, and stams they can't keep it around to you, so that's enough to make it ain't no bershusa and bittul. It's too late for bittul to help. I'm just saying, there's something I read recently about the mechir's chametz, where the Rav was makbid that you can't do it b'chametz be'ein, right? Like real chametz you shouldn't. A lot of people are makbid, but he really was also. But he said the reason you can sell schnapps is because it's tarubas chametz. It's a homocloak because schnapps is considered chametz be'en, or is it called tarubas? Right. Some people are makbid to consider schnapps like be'en, and most people I think call only tarubas. Yeah, I mean it is some kind of tarubas. I mean there's water in it. But the fact is, he says it's interesting. He's taking this idea of tarubas chametz and applying it to the mechira, and from this discussion, it seems to be. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how tarubas chametz fits under Bayir or Bayir Matzah. Well, that's the next paragraph. We're going to discuss Bayir or Bayir Matzah about tarubas. We'll wait till next week.